Hello and welcome to the Women Fantasy Authors YouTube channel. I'm Janet Hinker, and today I'm talking with Elaine Correia. Good morning, Elaine. I'm glad to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Great, great. Elaine and I met at a Women in Publishing conference, and now we're also in the same women writers support group. So we've been talking a lot about writing and books, and I got to read her latest novel, which is the Rebel Healers series, and we're going to be talking about that today. And I I know that I could probably say this for most authors that our books are very personal to us, but I think in your case it's particularly personal because you are a healer and a massage therapist and practice a lot of other modalities. So I'm interested in hearing about your journey, your own personal journey, and how it led you to writing this particular book.
Well, it's been a long and very convoluted journey. The work into I started out as very young age, like in third grade, I got psoriasis. So I went through all the different, the Western medicine, and that didn't work, and the Eastern medicine, and that helped, but didn't really work. And so, of course, I had to study all these things because I like to study things. And so eventually I realized that, okay, this wasn't a physical thing, it was a emotional thing. And so I've been working on that. And then I realized, well, maybe it's a spiritual thing. So I listened to all these authors like Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, and then those are the woo-woo new age health people, and then of course all the more traditional ones, but and then started studying into shamanism and different, all sorts of, the driving force was trying to find a way to deal with the psoriasis, but it led me down this path, which is what illnesses will do. And so one day I listened to Alberto Vallado. He's teaching shamanic teachings, and he talked about you can know your future in the pauses between your breath. And so, of course, that got me curious. And then I heard Joe Dispenza talking about how he had this very debilitating injury, and he imagined his spine was healed for 6 weeks. And I thought, what if I put the two together and see what happens? I'll write about something. Who am I becoming for the next, 42 days? And so that's what I did. And
Wow.
so that was the initiating part of it, and the whole thing. But then eventually I had to take that and shape it into a book that other people could read.
Right. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how this all fits in and the book about the healers. Let me start by reading the description, a short description from your book blurb. As invaders threaten to conquer her homeland, impose their patriarchal ways, and destroy women's freedoms, mother and healer priestess Alara embarks on a journey to reclaim her stolen soul and stop a powerful sorcerer from using her to gain ultimate power. Guided by the ancient goddess mystical tradition and her people, Alara must confront her inner demons and fight to protect her way of life before it's lost forever. So that's a lot to unpack. And so basically, her homeland's been taken over, and women are not allowed to use goddess energy to heal. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in Alara's world as the story is opening up.
So Ilara, as part of the goddess tradition, are her people, and her island, the island of Alba, is one of the last strongholds. At the beginning, for thousands of years ago, the whole world was, I don't know if I want to say it was a goddess religion, but they honored and respected life, all life. And there was a way back in the, so basically it was more of a matriarchal society where men and women were pretty much equal. Each one had their roles. And the women were tended to be the wise ones that were the guiding force, and the men were the ones that went out and executed whatever was decided to be done. But as in all societies and in all situations, there's always a few guys that don't like the status quo and they want to change it. And so they were the ones that broke off. And originally, they kept the goddess traditions until one guy figured out that he could tap into another force. And that's how the Drakri got started. And so then there's always been this tug of war, who's going to be on top, you know? And of course, the goddess is, you know, she's more passive. And then of course the Drakri are like, we're going to be in control. So they started taking over part of the world. So when the book starts, Alba is kind of like the last stronghold. So the other thing about the Drakri is they're very patriarchal, and they believe that women should be kept at home, raising the kids, managing the household. They can't go out and do anything. They are definitely not capable and qualified to go out and be professional people, like, you know, like lawyers or advocates or in accounting or treasury, or heaven forbid, being leaders, you know. So it was very patriarchal. And so that's one of the themes that I play with a lot, is this whole this difference between a woman who is very capable, who is respected for who she has and the gifts that she has and her abilities, versus, you know, you don't belong there.
Well, you've written, I mean, as I'm reading it and hearing you talk, and it becomes evident as we're talking about masculine versus feminine, that you have written a sort of a parable for our time, and the things that are in the book are obviously reflected in our greater world and things that are happening right now. So it's been interesting to read it in that context, and also see the strength of women and how that is bringing them through this conflict and through the story. I need to ask you about Rokan, and how does he fit into the story? You know, let's no spoilers, but if you can kind of give us about who he is and who he's associated with.
Well, he's a Drakri who's not happy about being one. He actually wanted to be a scholar. He loved to, you know. So here's a little background on the Drakri. See, basically the whole concept is that all the people are goddess born, and it's just the path they choose. They can choose the light path, they can choose the dark path. Well, Rokan, there's a whole bunch that's going to come out in the next books about Rokan, but I'll just tell you this much. Rokan wanted to be a scholar. He loved to learn. I mean, that was his favorite thing. And then he loves to teach what he learned. That's why he has so much fun with, you know, with the uninitiated, you know, the Margot and that group. Because here he gets to show he's a little bit arrogant, you know. He's a know-it-all, and so he gets to show how much he knows. And so he's in a real conflict, because he's been put into being the Drakri, and he likes it. He likes the power, he likes the control, he likes the magic, he likes all that. But there's this other part of him that misses what, you know, the Margot and those people have. And that's really causing an inner conflict for him. And
Yes.
then the other problem that really complicates him is that Elara, when she was just a little kid, healed him, because he was such a stinker. And I
was just going to ask you about their connection and what happened. Yeah, why they have this unique connection. So she healed him, and there's something that happened from that did and balanced the power or something. Yeah.
So they're basically, you know, they're connected.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't understand it, and of course Elara doesn't know anything about it. So I got to figure that out. So.
Yeah, as I was reading through the story, and when Rokan comes into the story and is sort of pretending to be friends with Elara's daughter and a group that are on a search, I thought, what's going on with this guy? He obviously he's trying to infiltrate them, but he's in conflict. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in book 2. Elara, while she's back, before everything kind of gets crazy, she has a ally, the cleric Paul is an ally of hers, and he's an interesting character. Why does he want to help her? What are they sharing? He saves her a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah. So they have an interesting, so part of what's of the Drockery patriarchal plan is they have a religion called the Natuans, which is basically it's basically the male version of the goddess. And they have but in true patriarchal fashion, they have all these rules and regulations that everyone's supposed to follow. So these guys are like missionaries, and they've gone around and caused, for the most part, caused a lot of trouble. But cleric Paul and he was once arrogant, but he's also a scholar, and the scholars, tend to see a broader picture of things. Anyone who does a lot of research, they kind of realize that there's more than one way to look at things. And so she has a run-in with him, similar to where the book begins, with the cleric Wilson, who's trying to accuse her of witchcraft. But eventually they become friends, and they both realize that, well, cleric Paul has studied enough into the goddess traditions to understand that the two religions are really the same. It's just the way they're presented. Right. And so they become friends, and of course he likes a good debate, and Elara is pretty good at debating. So
yes. Yeah. I thought it was interesting that he was, being her ally, and I could see that he was looking deeper into the laws and what was behind them and what the real meaning of them. So we'll probably see a little bit more of him as the story goes on. Now, Margot is Elara's daughter, and she has to flee the island, but Elara is not able to go with her. So what's happening with that in terms of Elara staying on the island and having to stay there in that space?
Well, Nana Magog has other plans for Elara. So Nana Magog,
yes, tell us about.
She's a very crafty person, and she is Roken's nemesis, because Roken was trying to capture. So the idea of the Drockery was to go kill all the healers, and so they had the religious wars, and the healers, figured out how to form these triunes, which was like three healers kind of like bound together in the Kiango Bandia ceremony, I guess we'll call it. And that worked for a while until Roken figured out how to undermine it, and then he could capture them. Well, Nana Magog was never able to be captured, and she would trick him, and then she tricked him, and that's how she freed Elara's mother. And so there's a thing between the two of them, and a contest. And so Nana Magog, she's kind of the rebel, and she's a free thinker. Supposedly her powers were taken away, but Elara can't figure out how can she do magic if her powers were taken away. So there's, she's a real interesting character.
She is, and she definitely rebel. I can see. I can see where rebel ended up in the title of your book, because she's definitely that, and she comes across, even regardless of her past, you can tell that she is powerful in some way, whether it's just wisdom or magic. And so she's helping lead the way, but in a non-traditional way, because she's not part of the circle that sort of controls everything. Right. So that leads me to Elara, the goddess council. Elara, when she leaves her hometown, she's headed towards the goddess council to reclaim her power. And so things don't go as planned. So what? So Elara, so they're resisting her joining. So briefly, what's going on with the council at this point? They seem stuck. They don't want to change. So kind of what's going on there?
So yeah, the council, So like Nana Magog points out that Camilla, who's the spokesperson for the council, she's kind of like the head person. She's been there for a long time, and she does not want to give up her power, and she does not want to change. And she thinks, well, there's a little bit more to that too. The council has gotten corrupted. And so part of some of the healers have made deals with the Drakri to be able to keep their powers. So so that's underlying the council, and so I don't want to give too much of the
Yeah,
story.
yeah, no, that's fine. We know that it's not,
Yeah.
you know, she's going there to be part of a tradition and to become part of a tradition that doesn't want to change and has, like all things, the power circles tend to corrupt. Even if it's goddess worship, there's all
Yeah.
these influences going on. So
Right.
there's just more and more conflict, not only against the patriarchal guys, but with the women that are supposed to be leading the ways of the goddess. So things
Right.
are complicated. And, you know, by when we get to the end of the book, things have not obviously been resolved. There's another book coming along. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, all through this, Elara has been kept in the dark because she has powers that if people like the council or the Drakri found out about it, I don't know how that would have turned out for her, but it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah. Her
And
mother didn't want her to become a healer, right?
right. Yeah. Because her mother didn't want the same fate for her. And so yeah, she was against it. And her mother also knew that Roken wanted Elara for his, because he thought Roken in his more material point of from his more material point of view thought that Elara could make him all powerful.
Yeah. So which, yeah. So this is there's a lot going on in this story, and I like the mythology that you've built in, and the different sides and how things are moving forward, the conflict. I've really, really looking forward to reading book 2 to see where this all ends up. And I'm going to share your information here. Hold on just a sec, because I want people to see your book titles. And also, I'm sorry, we're covering your page. Is it Elaine.com? I'm sorry, it looks like our
yeah, ElaineC.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it
now,
displays. Yeah.
the Rebel series is it 2 volumes?
Right now, there's 2 volumes.
Okay.
The Karat Curses is also out, and then the Lessons of the Goddess for the Goddess Born is actually a hybrid
Okay.
personal growth book taught by Elara, the
Oh,
heroine.
oh,
And so it's there's parts of her life that in fact, there's a couple of things that little short segments of story of her from her life that are not in the book.
oh, that's wonderful. What a great concept.
And
Because
it's like, yeah.
she's the healer, and you've built a lot of scholarship into our scholars into the story. What a great idea. I love it. I'm going to have to read that one as well.
Yeah, so it's
You,
it's more about developing, your
yeah,
with nature and stuff. So
I love it. I love it. Well, we're about to close up here, and I wanted to ask you, this is a lot of content. What are you working on in something new now? What's your focus right now?
well, other than being sidetracked with personal life, but
Yes.
but I actually I've got the next 2 books in the series drafted. I just got to, or actually I've got outline for the rest of the series, but I just got to, I'm going to move things around between the 2 books, and I got to work on that part. So that's my next. The project is actually to try to get the next 2 books ready to go, which probably
Yeah.
will be, it's at the rate I'm going, probably be next year. I mean, at the end
Yeah.
of 2024.
Sure. Yeah,
And so,
it's a huge project getting it done and edited and getting it out. But if you've
yeah,
got drafts ready, that's great. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to finding more out about Margot, her daughter, to see
yeah.
she ends up in this story, because I think she's going to be a driving force as well.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, she plays a pretty good part in the next book. You'll have
Oh,
to read the next book, because her and Roken, she really draws a line on Roken. So
good. Oh, that's good. That's good. I thought that that might be happening. So, Elaine, it's been so wonderful talking with you. This book is different than anything I've read before, and I like that you've built in the whole thing about masculine and feminine, especially thinking about what's happening on our planet right now. So I'm hoping that seeing the story unfold will bring hope to the world about bringing balance back, because I think I see it kind of as a metaphor, and I don't know if that you did too. So I hope
yeah,
that's the case. And
yeah,
our writing is important, and I think it does change the world. So you certainly have a piece in that.
yeah.
I'm going to when I post the video, I will put Elaine's link to her webpage down in the notation area. I'd encourage you to like the video if you're enjoying this, and also follow the channel. I'll be posting an interview about once a month with other indie authors that I've met and that I've gotten to read their books and learn about their work. So we hope you'll join us again. Elaine, thank you again for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks for
Pleasure. Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.